You know, there's a voice inside of you right now. Maybe it's loud, maybe it's quiet, but it's there. It's the voice that says you were made for more, and I'm here to tell you, it's right. So many people go through life settling. They accept what's given instead of going after what's possible. But let me ask you, what if you stopped settling? What if today became the day you decided you would no longer be defined by your past, your fears, or the limitations others placed on you? You can do anything, not because life is easy, not because the road is smooth, but because you are stronger than you think, more resourceful than you realize, and more capable than you've ever given yourself credit for. The truth is, it's not the circumstances that decide your destiny. It's your decisions. The decisions you make in the moments when you don't feel like going on. The decisions you make when the odds are stacked against you. The decisions you make to rise, to fight, to push, even when no one's watching. Think about it. Every great achiever, every world changer, every person you admire, they weren't born with something you don't have. They just refused to give up. They tapped into the power inside themselves that said, I will not stop until I get there. So the question isn't whether you can. The question is, will you? Will you stop waiting for the perfect moment and create the moment? Will you stop telling yourself the story of why it can't happen and start writing the story of how it will? Will you step up today and say, this is my life and I refuse to live it small. Listen to me. The only limits you have are the ones you accept. Break them. Smash them. Redefine what's possible. Because when you decide to stop living in fear and start living in courage, you unleash a version of yourself that is unstoppable. So stand tall, breathe deep, and remember this truth. You can do anything. And the world is waiting for you to prove it. Your decisions, not your circumstances, shape your destiny. Too often, people look at their lives and believe that their current situation determines their future. They point to where they were born, the challenges they've faced, or the mistakes they've made as proof that their possibilities are limited. But the truth is, circumstances are only the starting line, never the finish. What truly defines the direction of your life is not what has happened to you, but the choices you make in response to it. Every single decision you make builds a pattern, a story, a trajectory. You've probably met people who were born into tough situations. Poverty, broken families, environments filled with doubt and negativity, and yet they found a way to rise. And you've also seen people who had every advantage, every opportunity laid before them, and still ended up unfulfilled, stuck, or even miserable. That's because destiny is not about the hand you're dealt. It's about how you play that hand. Your decisions are the steering wheel of your life. The question is, are you steering with intention, or are you letting life push you wherever it wants? The moment you take ownership of your decisions, you begin to rewrite your story. You stop saying, I can't because, and start asking, how can I? That shift is everything. Because while circumstances can place obstacles in front of you, it is your decision to face them, to find a way through, around, or over them, that determines whether you grow or remain stuck. Every decision is a seed. Some seeds sprout quickly, some take years, but all of them create your future. Decisions are powerful not because they are easy, but because they demand commitment. It's easy to wish, it's easy to want, it's easy to dream. But deciding means you cut off all other possibilities. It means you commit fully, not half-heartedly, and that commitment shapes your destiny in ways that circumstances never could. When you decide you're going to achieve something, really decide, you start to tap into creativity, resourcefulness, and strength you didn't even know you had. Think about the decisions you've made in the past. Some were small, yet they changed everything. Maybe it was the decision to take an opportunity, to start a conversation, to say yes when fear told you to say no. Or maybe it was the decision to stop tolerating what you'd outgrown, to walk away from something that no longer served you. In those moments, your destiny shifted because you chose, you decided. It's the same moving forward. If you want to create a life of meaning, fulfillment, and impact, You cannot wait for circumstances to magically align. Waiting is a decision in itself, and usually it's a decision to stay exactly where you are. The people who create extraordinary lives are not the ones with perfect conditions, but the ones who decide to move forward despite imperfection. They know that every choice compounds, every step taken in courage builds momentum, and that momentum eventually becomes unstoppable. Every time you're faced with a challenge, you have a decision to make. Will this break me or will it build me? That choice, repeated again and again, is what shapes who you become. Circumstances may test you, but your decisions define you. Your future is not waiting on better luck, better timing, or better conditions. It's waiting on you to decide. The only limits you have are the ones you accept. Most people go through life believing that their limits are fixed, that they can only go so far because of their background, their education, their resources, or their age. They point to the evidence around them, the voices they've heard growing up, the failures they've experienced, and they build a prison in their own mind. The bars aren't made of steel, they're made of belief. And the truth is, those beliefs only hold power because they've been accepted as real. Every human being is born with an incredible capacity for growth, resilience, and creativity. But somewhere along the way, most people start listening to the story that says, "This is as far as you can go." Maybe it came from parents who didn't know better. Maybe it came from teachers, friends, or the environment around them. Or maybe it came from themselves after enough setbacks and disappointments. But the reality is that the limits that feel so real are almost always self-imposed. They exist in the mind before they ever show up in life. What you accept, you live. If you accept that you're not capable of achieving greatness, you won't take the actions that lead to greatness. If you accept that you're not meant to have financial freedom, loving relationships, or strong health, then you'll unconsciously make decisions that keep you stuck where you are. The ceiling is not out there in the world. It's the one you build in your mind. And the moment you stop accepting that ceiling, the moment you refuse to let it dictate what's possible, everything begins to change. History is filled with examples of people who shattered limits others told them were absolute. Athletes who broke records no one thought could be broken. Innovators who created things people believed were impossible. Leaders who rose from nothing, defying every expectation. What separated them wasn't that they were given more. It was that they refused to accept the limits placed on them. They chose to question the story, to push against the walls, and in doing so, they discovered the walls weren't as solid as they seemed. The limits you live under are only as strong as your belief in them. The mind is powerful, and it will always fight to make your beliefs true. If you believe you can't, you'll find evidence everywhere to support it. If you believe you can, you'll start noticing opportunities, ideas, and strategies that were invisible before. It's not magic. It's the way the human brain works. You move in the direction of what you believe. That's why it's crucial to examine the limits you've accepted. Ask yourself, who told me this was impossible? Who told me I wasn't capable? Who told me I had to stop here? Most of the time, the answer won't even make sense. You'll realize those limits came from people who gave up on their own dreams, or from a past version of yourself that didn't know what you know now. The moment you challenge those beliefs, you loosen their grip, and the more you act in defiance of them, the weaker they become. Every breakthrough in your life will come from refusing to accept a limit that once felt unshakable. When you stop saying, "This is just the way things are," and start saying, "This is not where my story ends," you begin to open doors that were always there, waiting for you to see them. Growth happens when you decide that your vision is more powerful than your fear, when you decide that you'd rather test your limits than live safely inside them. Limits are illusions. They are boundaries drawn by fear, comfort, and doubt. But you are not your fear, you are not your comfort zone, you are not your doubt. You are far more. The only question is whether you will continue to accept the old story, or whether you will step into the truth that the only limits that exist are the ones you decide to keep. Courage is born in the moments you want to quit. It's easy to keep going when everything feels smooth, when progress is visible, when results are showing up exactly as you hoped. But the real test, the moment that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck, comes when you hit the wall. When you're tired, discouraged, when doubt creeps in and every part of you wants to walk away. That's the birthplace of courage, and that's where your future is decided. Most people believe courage is about being fearless, but it's not. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite fear. It's choosing to take one more step when your mind screams at you to stop. It's refusing to give in when the discomfort feels unbearable. It's in those moments when you feel weakest that you are closest to discovering your strength. Because courage is forged in fire, not comfort. Think about it. If everything were easy, if there were no obstacles, you'd never need courage. You'd never grow, never stretch, never become more than who you already are. The struggle is the arena where courage is born, and the very moment you want to quit is the exact moment that has the power to transform you. Quitting promises relief, but it also robs you of the victory that was waiting just beyond the pain. The difference between those who build extraordinary lives and those who don't often comes down to a single decision. The decision to keep going when it would have been easier to stop. Everyone faces doubt. Everyone feels fear. Everyone hits moments when the dream feels too far away. But those who summon courage in that moment, who take one more step, create a ripple effect. That one step leads to another, and momentum begins to build again. And soon, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Courage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. It's making the phone call you've been putting off. It's having the difficult conversation. It's showing up for yourself even when no one else notices. It's refusing to let today's discouragement define tomorrow's outcome. Every act of courage, no matter how small, compounds. Each time you choose courage over quitting, you strengthen a muscle that makes the next challenge easier to face. There will always be voices that tell you to stop, both outside of you and inside of you. The world will give you reasons to settle. Your mind will whisper, it's not worth it, you're not strong enough, it's too late. And in that moment you have a choice. You can agree with the voice of fear, or you can choose the voice of courage. One keeps you safe but stuck. The other propels you toward growth, progress, and the life you were meant to live. It's important to realize that courage doesn't guarantee instant success. It doesn't mean everything works out right away. What it does guarantee is that you won't be the same person you were before. Every time you step into courage, you evolve. You build resilience, confidence, and strength that no one can take from you. And eventually, those qualities make success inevitable because the person who refuses to quit cannot be stopped. Look back at your life for a moment. The times you grew the most, the times that shaped you, were not the easy ones. They were the times when you wanted to quit but didn't. They were the times you felt like you had nothing left, yet you found a way to give more. That is courage. That is the spark that ignites transformation. And that same spark is inside you right now, waiting for the next test, waiting for the next moment when everything in you wants to quit, so it can rise again. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Create it. So many people live their lives on hold, convincing themselves that they'll start pursuing their dream when things settle down, when they have more time, more money, more confidence, or more support. They tell themselves that the right conditions have to line up before they can take action, but the truth is, the perfect moment never arrives on its own. If you keep waiting for it, you'll spend your whole life waiting. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't the ones who waited for the stars to align. They're the ones who decided to take action even when conditions were messy, uncertain, or far from ideal. Life doesn't hand you opportunities wrapped neatly with a bow. It presents you with challenges, with uncertainty, with risks, and it's in the middle of all that chaos that you have to decide to act. Waiting feels safe. It tricks you into believing you're being wise, that you're avoiding failure, that you're protecting yourself. But what you're really protecting yourself from is growth. Every day you wait, you delay your own transformation. Every day you wait, you reinforce the belief that you need something outside of yourself before you can begin. The perfect moment is something you create by taking the first step. The conditions don't create momentum. Momentum creates the conditions. Once you move, resources show up, people appear, doors open that you never could have seen while standing still. But none of that happens if you keep telling yourself the lie that tomorrow will be better, that you'll start when everything feels right. Tomorrow will come, and the same excuses will still be there. The only way to break the cycle is to start now, imperfectly, and trust that clarity and strength will grow as you move forward. Think about all the breakthroughs in history. None of them came from waiting for the perfect timing. They came from people who acted despite uncertainty. They built, created, pushed, and kept going even when they didn't have all the answers. They didn't wait for permission. They gave themselves permission. And that's what you must do. Stop waiting for the external green light and become the green light for your own life. You already know what waiting costs. It costs you time, momentum, and opportunity. How many times have you said, "I'll start next week," only to find weeks turn into months, and months turn into years? The danger isn't that you'll run out of opportunities. It's that you'll run out of time. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to take the leap, because waiting becomes a habit. And habits shape your destiny. Taking action in the face of imperfection is uncomfortable, but discomfort is the birthplace of progress. You'll never feel fully ready. That's the point. Growth requires stretching beyond what's comfortable. The butterflies in your stomach, the doubt in your mind, the fear in your chest, they're not signs to stop. They're proof that you're on the edge of transformation. The moment you feel them is the moment you know you're about to step into something greater than what you've known. Stop telling yourself that once you have more money, you'll invest. Once you have more confidence, you'll speak up. Once you have more time, you'll go after the dream. Time, money, and confidence don't show up first. They show up as a result of you moving. Action produces confidence. Action creates opportunity. Action generates momentum. Without it, everything remains a someday plan, and someday almost always turns into never. The truth is, the perfect moment isn't something you wait for, it's something you demand. You decide that now is the time, even if it's messy, even if you don't have it all figured out, even if it scares you. Because once you start, you send a signal to yourself and to the world that you are serious. And that single decision begins to attract the resources, people, and opportunities you thought you needed in order to begin. The perfect moment is not a gift you're given. It's a choice you make, and it's available to you the second you stop waiting and start creating. You already have everything you need inside you. From the moment you were born, you were equipped with the raw material to create, to overcome, to thrive. Yet so many people live their lives searching outside of themselves, believing they need someone else's approval, more education, more money, or more talent before they can become who they want to be. They spend years chasing after something external, never realizing the real power has always been within them. The tools, the strength, the resilience, the vision. It's all there, waiting to be unlocked by belief and action. The world often teaches you to look outward. You're told that success is in the right connections, the right resources, the right opportunities. And yes, those things can help, but they are never the deciding factor. If external resources were the secret, then everyone who had access to them would be unstoppable. But the truth is, people with far less have achieved far more, simply because they tapped into the power within themselves. They refused to believe they were lacking. They acted as if they already had enough to begin, and in doing so, they discovered they were right. Everything you need to create change in your life begins with a decision. A decision to trust yourself. A decision to use what you already have instead of waiting for something more. A decision to stop saying, "I'll start when I'm ready," and realize you are ready now. Readiness is not something that comes before action. It's something that grows through action. And the only way to find out what you're truly capable of is to use the strength, courage, and resourcefulness you've been carrying all along. Think about the challenges you've already faced in life. At the time, maybe you thought you couldn't handle them. Maybe you doubted you had the ability, the patience, or the endurance, but somehow you made it through. You found a way. That's proof. Proof that when life demands more of you, you rise. Proof that inside you there are reserves of strength and creativity that only reveal themselves when you choose to step forward. That same ability is still there, waiting for you to call on it again. The problem is not that you don't have what it takes. It's that you don't always believe it. Doubt can be louder than truth if you let it. Fear can disguise itself as logic and convince you that you need more before you begin. But when you peel back the layers, you realize that doubt and fear are not facts. They're feelings, and feelings don't determine your capacity. Decisions do. The decision to believe in yourself, even when the evidence isn't obvious, is the key that unlocks the potential already inside you. Greatness doesn't require perfect conditions. It requires you. It requires you to take the raw material of who you are. Your passion, your determination, your creativity, your willingness to learn, and put it to use. You don't have to know everything to begin. You don't have to be fearless to take the first step. You just have to recognize that you are already enough and then act like it. Action in the belief that you already have what it takes creates the momentum that builds more skill, more confidence, and more opportunity. People often look at those who achieve great things and think, they must have something I don't. But the reality is, they simply used what they had while others hesitated. They didn't wait to be chosen, they chose themselves. They didn't wait for more confidence, they built confidence through action. They didn't wait for the right resources. They got resourceful with what was already in their hands. And that's exactly what you can do. Inside you is everything you need to create a life of impact, fulfillment, and meaning. The strength is there even if you haven't used it yet. The courage is there even if it feels buried. The vision is there even if it's still forming. You don't need to search outside yourself for permission or worthiness. You already have it. The question is whether you'll finally decide to use it.